Deadzone Rogue is a game that took me by surprise, and this is because it didn't make the best case for itself. I saw it enter early access in April, and the tag said shooter, roguelike, all elements I like of course, but apart from the pulpy look, I didn't really see any soul in there. I didn't see what made this specific roguelike different to many others. As well as this, Prophecy Games, the team behind Deadzone Rogue, put out Tribes 3 Rivals into early access last year, and now sits at a mixed review rating due to what many see as the project being abandoned. Though seemingly revised before Deadzone Rogue's early access launch, it also contained 2D AI generated assets, something that would largely put me off a game entirely. Now, the game you could buy in early access didn't have these assets, so I held judgment on this particular element. If consumers express distaste and devs listen, that seems like a good response to me. Then it hit 1.0 just a few months after its launch. Early access is a great platform for games, one I think has ended up in tons of excellent work, but being an early access comes with it a promise. It comes with a future. 1.0 is the end of the contract. Devs can and do continue to update, but there's nothing required there anymore. So when a game launches from early access, there's part of my brain that perhaps cynically wonders if it's actually ready yet. That's why I decided to play Deadzone Rogue for myself. But first, just before we get into the video, I'm currently at 4,319 subscribers. This is genuinely phenomenal, and I can't really believe the growth I've had recently. That being said, I set myself a goal of getting to 4,500 by the end of the year. If you'd like to support me in any way, subscribing would really help me out. Thanks. So let's go back a little. Deadzone Rogue is a first-person roguelike shooter where you, an amnesiac, awaken on a spaceship above Earth filled with rogue robots, and you have to fight your way through them. They all have a vaguely fleshy feel to them, evoking the likes of Cyberpunk or the Master from Fallout. This gives a tone, a we're miserable and stuck here together kind of vibe, and one that the pounding metallic music really pushes to a higher level. It gives you a reason to go blasting brains, and the gameplay holds you after that. Guns feel so smooth no matter which one you pick. They all feel just weighty enough for a satisfying hit, and nimble enough that you can pounce from enemy to enemy in a blur. It's a mechanical system that allows for a real technical depth, one where I felt like I was drastically improving over time. Weapons are reasonably varied, with each loadout having a few pieces of armor, a primary and secondary weapon, as well as grenades and melee. In Deadzone Rogue, you never have to worry about ammo. You do have to worry about reloading, but that and picking a perk are practically the only stops from the start to the end of a run. Speaking of runs, as you wake up in the ship looking for your way out, you are given a single mission: clear 30 stages of baddies, defeat a boss, win the run. Then the game opens up, showing you a second and third act where you run through different areas with different enemy types. As well as these, you get challenge runs in each of the 3 acts, which can then unlock new items for subsequent runs, skins for weapons, and more. It builds out to a system where you can choose to sidetrack yourself. Beating a run in each of the game's 3 acts will see you to the end credits, but the game does a good job of giving you a reason to not do that yet. The first reason is run-to-run progression. When you pick small perks and have less run-to-run upgrades, the game can be pretty tough. Individual enemies aren't too bad, and their shots are well choreographed to let you bob and weave, but oftentimes if you don't take them out fast enough, they can swarm you, giving you almost no direction to run safely. You earn tech components and tech. These are 2 separate things and levels, both of which are needed for tech masteries that can be purchased in the central hub. When spent, it unlocks permanent upgrades like a little more health, greater damage, or better pickup rates. Then, as you get into the second act, you unlock a new set of upgrades called superior items. They are a reward for getting to safe rooms, which happen after every couple of rounds. Throughout runs, you can upgrade these items to give yourself bigger buffs in subsequent runs. Once you get into the third act, you unlock synergies. These are a combination of perks and superior items that combine into one grander perk. I think Deadzone Rogue has what I feel like some roguelites are missing. Progression via upgrading is engaging and a decent long-term goal, but they mean very little when A, they don't massively change the way you play, and B, the base game doesn't feel satisfying. Deadzone Rogue runs do this genuinely great thing of feeling different. They encourage you to attempt to use different weapons, different perks, and importantly, it all feels phenomenal. It's intuitive, quick, and has this nasty atmosphere that makes it very replayable. To enunciate what I'm talking about, I once found myself ending a run one room early because an enemy got stuck in a wall. Despite quitting the game to get out, I immediately went back in and tried a different challenge run. Progression doesn't feel like duct tape over the hole in the boat that is a weak core loop. It feels purely additive. What came to mind with this system is the Binding of Isaac. Naturally, the Binding of Isaac doesn't have strict upgrades between runs like Deadzone Rogue, but the fact that you can build out your choices based on synergies means that things can turn around quickly for you, and you can end up winning a run with something that feels overpowered. Every now and then, a game hits that right quotient of hell yeah. Doom and Wolfenstein hit that for classic examples, but more recently, Echo Point Nova, Haste Broken Worlds, and even Neon White. You may appreciate the way they tell a story or their aesthetic, but the quality that makes it stand out is more ineffable. It feels harder to grasp. Just the right speed, a frenetic feel, music that enchants, all these come together to provide a game that flagrantly flaunts the rule of cool. By this I mean you can get away with it if it's cool enough. Deadzone Rogue's main voice actor is kind of dull. He's a generic gruff dude, a Duke Nukem or classic action hero type, but without the self-awareness. Despite having some solid narrative threads attempting to piece together a story about the self, what it means to be human, and what it takes to claw that back, the narrative is something thrown out by a voice and tone that feel like it's too cool and too focused on your progression to ever just let it sit. However, that coolness is one that's nowhere near as grating as you might think from that. The story still successfully pulls you along, and the rule of cool is double-edged. It may be covering for a fault, but it being cool enough to pull you through makes it alright anyway. In Deadzone Rogue, your bullets hit enemies immediately, yet theirs takes a second or two to get to you. You are absolutely the main character, and the game was fine with just handing you the tools to become as overpowered as you would like. Another tool in its tool belt is how you choose to manage each level. Before the action really starts, you are made invisible with stealth mode, and that invisibility only goes away when you shoot, throw a grenade, or melee. This means you can scope out the opposition, pick the strongest enemies, watch out for shields, turrets, and choke points, then plan out your route. On one hand, this means you can play tactically to breach each room carefully. On the other, it means you can plan which room you run to first, spraying machine gun fire and throwing grenades. As a multiplayer game, it balances this out by piling more enemies on, and you can plan these breaches together. Like the single player, it's a lot of fun, and with enough communication, it can feel just as frenetic and pulpy. Now, after finishing the game and clearing the majority of the challenge missions, I feel mostly wrapped up with Deadzone Rogue. I'm actually rather glad it's nothing more than that. I like that this game you can pick up for $20, tells you what you'll get from the start, gives you a clear progression path, and doesn't bother to fit in a battle pass or random daily run system. The move from early access to 1.0 feels like a successful one for a game that just wants to capture you for 10 to 20 hours while you play some music or chat with your buddies. It's a shame that Tribes 3 Rivals has not enjoyed this same kind of support, and this makes me cautious of trusting future projects from Prophecy Games, but Deadzone Rogue's good qualities feel undeniable, and that makes it a game I've enjoyed in a very dumb fun kind of way over the last few weeks. I'm a staunch defender of the idea that games are art, they have something to say and a message that deserves to be heard and explored. In the face of those who tell you it's not that deep, it's worth plunging into the depths regardless. But sometimes art just makes you feel. And I don't mean in some tear-jerking, life-affirming way. Deadzone Rogue simply speaks to the same part of my brain that's drawn to fireworks shows or just can't help fidgeting with keys. It's a game that focuses on pure play and spectacle with just enough strategy to provide some grit and gristle for you to gnaw on. Sometimes I feel a need to give a greater purpose to a video. I look for a take that's more than just is this good or is this bad, but I think this can make me avoid the clear take that's sitting right in front of me. And the take that found me here is that with so many games this year vying to be your every night multiplayer game, this managed to get me to sneak a few hours in without the compulsion driven by the FOMO we see in the opportunity cost in the market. And this is why I felt the need to mention battle passes. I don't feel like Deadzone Rogue wants me to sign in and play it every day. It feels content offering an experience that's contained but a pleasure to revisit and retread. While roguelikes will always invite that one more go feeling, there's something satisfying about a game that can let me go when I'm done. Thank you for listening to my thoughts on Deadzone Rogue. These were written up about a week and a half ago, and I've had like a mini hiatus. I think it's been about 2 weeks, which is the longest I've gone without uploading in, I think, a couple of months now. I got a little sick, and I think I just lost a little bit of the energy, and I think I'm starting to feel it come back now. And I didn't want to push myself. I just wanted to work on my own schedule and get these videos out when I felt like they should be. If you're watching this, thank you for sticking around. If you haven't subscribed, I'd really appreciate you subscribing, especially if you like this. And if you did like it and you want to give me a like, that would also be appreciated. I think this year has been absolutely phenomenal for me. I think I started doing these videos near the end of 2023, and I spent about a year getting to like 500 subscribers, and then 6 months getting to almost 5,000. Well, that's getting a bit ahead of myself. 4,300, which is incredible. I feel very, very lucky, and I don't know when the momentum on this is going to slow down, and I suppose I'll be okay if it does, because a lot of people have now tuned in. Yeah, thank you for watching. Thank you for taking the time to get here, for listening to me say things into this microphone right now. It means a lot. Thanks.